If you're looking to get more anti-inflammatory foods into your diet, then this recipe ticks all the right boxes. This is my anti-inflammatory curry. So I've been teaching versions of this curry for over a decade, and it brings together some of the most powerful anti-inflammatory ingredients that we've got available to us. And also, it happens to be cheap as chips as well, so let's make it. So let's start with a red onion. These are packed with an anti-inflammatory phytochemical called quercetin. Now, I like to chop the onion reasonably finely here because I want it to soften down and almost disappear into the finished sauce. It'll be so soft you'll barely notice it's there. So we'll get it into a pan with a little extra virgin olive oil over a relatively high heat. Now, olive oil is one of those ingredients that's been quite badly misunderstood over the years. People are always talking about the fat content and temperatures and all the rest of it, but the thing that's really interesting about extra virgin olive oil is the polyphenols that it contains. These naturally occurring plant compounds help to protect the oil itself and may also exert a range of beneficial effects within the body, such as anti-inflammatory effects. And there's also a decent amount of polyphenols in the onion as well. That's what makes them purple. So we're really doubling up on these. So while that's gently softening, let's move on to the garlic. 3 cloves will do the trick. Give them a good whack first so that the paper is easier to peel off. Now, garlic contains a range of sulfur-containing compounds which have attracted considerable research interest over the last few years, particularly in relation to cardiovascular and immune health. They do have some powerful anti-inflammatory compounds in there. Again, I'm chopping these relatively finely because you really don't want great big chunks of garlic in your dish. Next, we're going on to ginger. I like to use fresh ginger wherever possible because it gives a wonderful freshness and warmth to the finished dish. Ginger contains a family of compounds known as gingerols, which have been extensively studied for their biological activity. They've been shown to interrupt one of the key chemical pathways that switches on inflammation. The effect of these compounds is so strong that they've been compared to a class of anti-inflammatory drugs called COX-2 inhibitors, and they work on the same chemistry. Roughly chop it and throw it in. Now a little bit of chilli. I do like these smaller Thai chilies. They do have some real poke. This is entirely optional depending on your tolerance for heat, but I find it adds another layer of flavour that works beautifully with the sweetness of the potatoes later on. Plus, ironically, the compound capsaicin that gives them their heat does have anti-inflammatory and pain-killing properties too. Give everything a stir and let those aromatics soften for a minute or two. Already, the kitchen should be smelling pretty amazing. When people hear the word inflammation, they often think that it's automatically a bad thing. It isn't. It's a perfectly normal response that's designed to save our lives. It helps with wound healing. It helps to prevent infection. The issue arises when that normal inflammatory response doesn't settle down properly and becomes excessive and chronic. Okay, back to the pan. Now for one of the stars of the show, turmeric. I'm using around a teaspoon of it here. Turmeric owes much of its vibrant colour to a group of compounds called curcuminoids. The most well-known of these is called curcumin. You may have heard of it. Curcumin has become one of the most extensively researched plant compounds in the entire nutrition field. It works on the same biochemical pathway as ginger. It prevents the formation of substances known as pro-inflammatory eicosanoids. I know that sounds a bit of a mouthful, but just remember this. It helps to reduce inflammation getting too aggressive by stopping it midway. Then, alongside the turmeric, we're going to add a little bit of ground cumin, some ground coriander, and a little bit of a general curry powder as well. I know some people say it's heresy. These aren't here just for flavour. Spices are actually remarkably rich sources of phytochemicals, many of which have anti-inflammatory activity of their own. These are no exception. Now, onto the sweet potato. I've diced this into relatively small cubes so it cooks evenly and absorbs all those flavours. Sweet potatoes bring fibre, carotenoids, and a wonderful natural sweetness to the dish. The carotenoids that are responsible for that vivid orange colour and naturally anti-inflammatory as they have effective antioxidant activity. Inflammation and oxidative stress go hand in hand. Give everything a good stir so that the spices coat every piece of sweet potato. And this is one of my favourite moments in the whole recipe because the spices begin to bloom and release their aromas. So now we're going to add our passata. Tomatoes create the base of the sauce and contribute lycopene. This is another carotenoid pigment which has been widely studied for its potential health benefits. One of the main ones being a significant anti-inflammatory activity, particularly with the endothelium, the lining of our blood vessels. Now, I've done versions of this curry with just vegetable stock, and that works absolutely fine. It takes it in a slightly different direction, but the tomato just makes things a little bit richer in flavour when you get to the finished dish. Then in with the chickpeas. One of the reasons I love chickpeas is that they bring both fibre and protein to the party. Together, these help meals become more satisfying and can support better appetite regulation. Their fibre content helps to support a healthy and diverse microbiome. This microbial colony supports a healthy inflammatory response by directly influencing behaviour of the immune system and also keeping the gut wall healthy. If gut wall health declines, increased inflammation follows. Add a splash of water or stock if needed, and then simply allow everything to simmer gently until the sweet potato becomes tender. As this cooks, it's worth remembering that no single ingredient is responsible for the benefits of a dish like this. Nutrition really doesn't work that way. What we're looking at here is synergy. Multiple ingredients, each contributing their own unique compounds, nutrients, and specific characteristics. The magic comes from the combination.
And this is one of the problems with how nutrition is discussed online. Everyone's looking for that kind of miracle superfood or that quick fix or immediate remedy. And dietary interventions just don't work like that. Yes, absolutely, diet can help to reduce inflammation, but it's 100 small variables coming together consistently that actually has the effect.
At this stage, the sweet potato should be beautifully tender. So we'll finish with a generous handful of spinach. Spinach wilts down really quickly, so you only need to add it in at the last minute, otherwise it'll just vaporise. It contributes folate, carotenoids, more polyphenols, and a range of other micronutrients as well. Plus the deep green against the vivid red and orange tones just looks amazing too. Give everything a final stir, and that's it. Simple, colourful, fragrant, and packed with flavour. One of the things I love most about this dish is that it demonstrates an important truth about healthy eating. Food that supports health should never feel like punishment. It should feel abundant, satisfying, and genuinely enjoyable.
So there we go, that is my anti-inflammatory curry. It brings together some powerful anti-inflammatory phytochemicals, dietary fibre to help modulate the microbiome, and a whole cocktail of antioxidants that help to tone down inflammatory load in the long term. The recipe's below, give it a try and let me know what you think.